Hey guys, MCU Collector here with another figure review. Next up is the Hasbro Marvel Legends series X-Men 20th Anniversary Marvel's Mystique. Now this is the Mystique based off of the first X-Men movie that did release 20 years ago. This is not the Jennifer Lawrence version. This is the Rebecca Romijn version, again, from the first movie. The box looks great. I love these regular boxes, like Stan Lee came in these, and then the first Marvel Studios, the first 10 years, and then the Marvel 80 years, they all came with this rectangular box. I kind of like this design a little bit more than the standard ones. They would be able to fit Build-A-Figures in here, but I think they definitely want to differentiate between the anniversary lines and the main line of Marvel Legends. But box art looks really cool. We get the X-Men logo there. You kind of get the X-Men logo outline on the side. We get the silhouette of Mystique. That looks really cool. There on the back of the package, get that same thing, says Marvel's Mystique. Now I think at Toy Fair a lot of people were saying that this was supposed to come with two heads, one for Jennifer Lawrence, one for Rebecca Romijn. I don't remember that ever being announced, but I absolutely could be wrong, and I wasn't in the Hasbro panel for Toy Fair, so I don't know if that was said or not, but I am happy with what we got. You know, an interchangeable hands, we get a transforming arm, so you know, it's pretty empty in there. It would be nice to get some other stuff, but there's a lot of new sculpting and things to this, and the head sculpt looks fantastic. So let's get it out of the package and take a look. Okay, here is the Mystique figure out of the package, and it's okay. It's good. It looks really good. It's pretty basic since there's not a lot of accessories and things like that to it, but it does look really good. So let's get in closer, take a look at her accessories, the interchangeable arm, the interchangeable hands, then we'll take a closer look at Mystique because the head sculpt is the absolute highlight of this figure. Okay, so taking a closer look at Mystique, let's first talk about the arm because we're going to talk about the accessories. So one of the major accessories, she has this mid-like transformation arm. So it's just done in the skin tone, and then you can kind of see how her skin kind of pulls back and does the folding over effect. So that's kind of nice that they sculpted that in there. You can actually see like the texture of it, how it's a little bit harder, larger, a little bit rougher. So that is good. Skin tone looks good. Typical female arm that we see. Nothing else going on to it. It's fairly harder plastic, but it was kind of, I mean, it's not hard to pull off, but it does take a little bit of force compared. And then this one, these arms are kind of rubbery, like you can kind of, it reminds me of like Mr. Fantastic's arms, which is kind of odd. I wonder why they would use that type of rubbery material for it instead of like the harder plastic. It's kind of weird. So like, trying to use the elbows, I guess it's not really a problem hinging it, but they just, it feels, the arms just feel very, 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 very soft. So I'm not the biggest fan of that. It's not the whole figure, but you know, I mean, the legs a little bit and the arms, it's just a rubbery material. So, you know, I'm not sure why they did that. It's just kind of odd, but you know, looking at the arm, and then she has interchangeable hands. So out of the package, she comes with an open left hand and a fist right hand. So we get an extra open hand for the right and fist for the left. Taking a closer look at the figure, the head sculpt just looks absolutely fantastic. The yellow eyes, I really see Rebecca Romijn's Mystique in there. Looks really good. We get a wash over the red hair to give it a nice textured look, and that's sculpted nicely just like it was in the movie. That is all good. Now the figure itself has amazing sculpt to it. So the skin tone, her texture, everything I think looks really good. I think some can argue maybe the blue is a little bit brighter than it should, but I think it looks really good. Even the dark blue areas, but the texture of her skin came out looking really good, and her feet there. And I think the feet are actually a pretty good size. You know, anytime they do feet without shoes, like actual bare feet, they tend to make them like too big or too fat. I think they did a good job with these feet. But just looking at the texture of her skin all around the body, just came out looking really good. But the rubbery plastic, I don't understand. And no pin, I mean pins, why do we have pins? Why don't we have the no pins? That's, I don't get it, right? Domino, no pins, pinless knees, and then Mystique, we get pins again? I'm not sure what's going on with that, but let's zoom out for her articulation. Okay, so Mystique's articulation, her head is on like the dumbbell joint, so no hinge to it, but she can look down that much. She's really not going to look up because that hair is just going to completely hinder the articulation. So no looking up. And then when you do that, it looks like her neck is just really, really high. So that's kind of weird. The arm can go up super, super high. You get full rotation. Of course, it is hinged, single jointed elbow, and we have a swivel at the elbow. And then you can get just about 90 degrees only on that elbow bend. So not a whole lot there. Wrists swivel and they do hinge. We have the diaphragm rocker because it is a female figure. So naturally, of course, that's what we're going to get. She can pivot to the side that much. Pivot to the other side that much there. Going back is really not a whole lot. Going forward is not a whole lot. So it's a little unfortunate because she moves around like crazy. So she should have great articulation in this diaphragm rocker, and she does not have that. Legs go out that far apart, which is decent. She can kick up pretty high, so just pulling it forward, you can get her leg up that high, but you can kind of twist it to the side a little bit, and you can get it to go up pretty high as well. There, doesn't really go back. You got an upper thigh cut there. You get a double jointed knee, which works really, really well. There's no boot swivel or calf swivel or anything. Female figure, we never get that. Foot hinges down. Doesn't really hinge up, or if it does, it's very little. And then ankle pivot, no peg holes on the bottom of her feet because the feet are pretty small and thin since they are not boots. So articulation's lacking, although the hip legs is pretty good. The articulation is lacking for what she was doing in those movies and the way she moved around. So that's pretty unfortunate. The only thing this figure really has going for it is how it looks. Okay, so for some side-by-side comparisons, here we have the movie X-Men Mystique, and now we have the comic Walgreens exclusive Mystique. So looking at the two side-by-side, we get a brighter red hair on the comic, brighter blue on the comic. Obviously, she doesn't have the textured skin or anything. And mine has some wonky-ass legs that are really warped that I need to get some hot water treatment going to kind of straighten those out. But as you can see, the comic version is taller, but most comic version of figures are much taller than movie figures anyway, so that's not really anything new, but a good side-by-side comparison there. So I'm not really one to do some head swaps, but my boy Spawn XD209 was curious to see how some of these might look, so let's try this out. We're going to swap the head, so we're going to pop Mystique's head off. Comes off very easily. Pop this other Mystique's head off. Let's do a quick swap and see if that's something that could even be done. And it can. The head looks a little bit big, but it fits on there just fine. You know, it's not loose or anything like that. Let's see if the movie head will go on there. That goes on there, and that's not so bad. I guess head would look a little bit small, but it's on there. And for shits and giggles, let's do the half rogue head on the movie body. The hair makes it very difficult to do, but it can be done. The hair really gets in the way of the shoulders and where that ball peg is positioned, so it's big, but it fits on there. So if any of you guys were curious, there they are. And here she is next to the Marvel Legends Stan Lee figure, and Stan Lee is actually taller than another figure for once. Here she is next to the Domino figure, which I just reviewed yesterday. So Mystique, Domino, same movie line. Pinless knees, does not have pinless knees. Rubbery pieces of the arms and the legs. A lot more kind of detailed. It's just, they seem to be night and day difference. The sculpting and the texture of this one is crazy. And as far as the color, you know, we get the dark blue into the light blue and everything. That's good. This figure does look really good, so don't get me wrong. It's just, the pinless thing is weird. The rubber arms and legs are weird. The head sculpt is absolutely fantastic. This one is really good. So that one's even better than Domino, though. So it's just kind of weird how we would get pinless on one and not pinless on the other. Seems kind of weird. Out of the two, I thought Mystique would have sold. I would think Mystique would sell better, but actually having them in hand, I think Domino is the better figure overall. So we'll kind of see how that plays out. Okay, so sadly, we are not going to get an X-Men movie Storm, Jean Grey, or Cyclops, but we did get a Cyclops movie figure back in the day during Hasbro. This was in a 2-pack. with, I think, Colossus. May have been the X3 Beast, but I think it was in the 2-pack with Colossus. The Cyclops figure, it was an exclusive to Walmart. It has the look from the movies, you know, but this was back in the day. They didn't do a lot of details and things. Even the Wolverine's kind of, the head sculpt is not Hugh Jackman. But I guess it's a decent attempt back then. That Cyclops head sculpt is actually pretty good. I think it actually does look like James Marsden. Maybe it's just me, but this is the best thing that we got so far. I will get Wolverine eventually at some point. Who knows when, but I will have that so I can do a comparison with Mystique and then with Magneto and all of that. But for now, that's the best and closest thing we got to the first X-Men movie. Okay, so my final thoughts on the Mystique figure. It's a beautiful figure. The sculpt work of the entire body, the paint, the dark blue into light blue, the textures, everything about this figure just looks really, really good. The head sculpt is amazing, but there's just something about the figure where I'm just kind of left feeling meh. Not sure what it is. I'm happy to have a movie figure. The X-Men movies, I didn't think we would ever get figures for. So I'm very pleased to have it. It just looks good, but you know, it's not going to really move around. So if you're looking at photography and things, what you're going to be able to do with her, I think it's going to be pretty limited and lacking, because she moved around like crazy in those movies. So it's just kind of sucks from that standpoint. I wish we would have gotten more characters from the movie. I would have chosen anybody else from the X-Men team before Mystique. So that's kind of one of those things. But again, it's still a beautiful figure. You guys let me know down in the comments below what your thoughts on it are. Maybe I'm being a little harsh on it. I don't know. I think it could have been done. I'm not sure that it could have been done better, to be honest. But the articulation, you know, typical female figure. I wish we would have gotten more. But again, it's a beautiful figure. You guys let me know all your thoughts down in the comments below on what you think of it. If you guys like this video, please do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe if you haven't already done so, and as always, thank you for watching.